welcome to this week's episode of Success in Women. I'm Linda.
I'm Andrea.
And today we're going to be talking about things in your control. But before we get started, Andrea's got her tip of the week.
Hi, ladies. So I'm going to talk two things about onions when you're cutting onions. Right now we're doing a lot of different barbecues and salads, and even grilling fresh vegetables, and onions are always on the list. And so I came across this fact when I was going through some of my tips, that the reason why our eyes cry when we chop onions is because there's a chemical that gets released when you cut the onion, and it looks for a source of water, and the closest source of water is the eyes, and that's why that happens. But if you take a paper towel and you wet it and you just place it beside the onion while you're chopping, the chemical will automatically go to the tissue instead of your eyes.
I am going to try that one. Because sometimes when I'm cutting onions, oh my God, it's like I'm really tearing up, like a lot.
Yes.
Wow.
And then after you're chopping and you got that smell of onions on your hands, if you don't wear gloves, you get some salt. You rub the salt with the water and it takes away the onion odor from your hands.
Well, the same with if you have garlic on your hands. I use 2 stainless steel spoons, wash my hands with the spoons in between, no smell.
Well, that could have been a tip for later.
Oh, well, you're talking about taking off with salt, and I thought maybe it would be the same idea.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, the stainless steel works as well, and I heard that many years ago. I've always done that because I don't like the smell on my hands of anything. I do wear gloves a lot, though.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do.
I don't have time. I'm in the kitchen constantly. And if anybody saw my Instagram reel the other day with my esthetician, and she did my nails, and of course I have an event coming up, and she said, wear gloves, you know, and I'm like, I don't have time to wear gloves, you know, and but anyways, they'll be fine.
That's the things that are in your control, Andrea.
Yes, talking about control.
Because we do have control most of the time over our time and other things. And we sometimes let other people to, control us. And it's always interesting because that can control your mind, so that you're preoccupied. But we have to learn how to take control of our own lives if we want to be successful. Right. And that's in anything.
In anything. So like you say, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed and everything is like, you feel like everything's out of control. So you got to just sit and say, okay, what can I do? What can I control in my life to eliminate that? And it could be just saying no to a couple of functions. It could be, I know I get overwhelmed sometimes when I'm thinking about what I have to do to clean the house, and I'll say, okay, well, make a timetable. You don't have to do it all in one day, but we do that. I did that yesterday all day long. But if I wanted to alleviate some of that, overwhelming feeling, just do maybe the laundry one day, do the vacuuming the next day, that's something I can control. But
it's that's some of the physical things,
right,
when you're feeling overwhelmed, knowing you've got a lot of projects to do. But even emotionally, because we've talked about mental health a lot, and you can let other things into your emotions where all of a sudden, and you have the right to control that. And to give you a prime example of that, I was talking to one of my sisters, and she started to tell me about something that was going on in the family. And I just stopped her right there, and I said, listen, it doesn't influence me and my life in any way, shape, or form. I don't care.
I know you're good like that.
I am extremely
My husband's good with that too, but I want to know it all.
I don't
but
want
I
to
can
know
process
anything.
it though. I can process it much easier. My husband doesn't want to be overwhelmed with other people's business. He just doesn't.
And that's me. And the thing is, part of it, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Andrea, but with his business, with my business, we got enough on our plate dealing with the stuff we do day to day that we don't want to add, I'm going to say, to the stresses of our life. And it's easier when it doesn't affect us to just say, listen, I'm not interested.
I'm not interested.
Please go somewhere else if you need to talk about it, because I don't need it to clog up my whole mental health with stuff that I cannot control. And I can't control that situation no matter what's going on. And in this case, it's not a listening ear.
The key word that you said too was not affecting your life.
Right.
So if it was something that was going to eventually affect you, then you might want to know about it.
Or, for example, Andrea, if you had something that you needed me for as a support system, that's different. But in this case, the person that was telling me in the family, it wasn't anything to do with that person either.
Okay.
And so it's almost like, I'll say, family gossip. And the person that it really is affecting, that's their life. They have to take control of that. But why should I impact my mental health with stuff I have no control over in anybody else's life?
What was the saying I saw once? It's don't let people pay rent in your brain or something.
I love that. I have not heard it, but it's true. When they take up space, they should be paying you for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to put it. And I guess when it comes to psychiatrists and psychologists, they are getting paid to take up that space if you want to take it up. And there are people out there. But that's the thing, that I can't control what's going on in somebody else's life. So I'm not interested.
I don't want to be bothered. So those are that's things that we can control, like the way we feel about things, our emotions, the way we express ourselves. Those are things we can control. How kind we want to be to people, how much we want to help other people.
Yeah, so I love the fact that we were talking about this, because I don't know if you remember from quite a while back, but I had taken a Jack Canfield course, and there was a formula, and I'm sure I've talked to you about it, but it's E plus O.
Oh, yes.
Equals R.
I remember that formula. I don't remember what it means.
So the E stands for, what's the event?
Okay.
Then plus the outcome. No, I think it's E plus R equals O. That's what it is. E plus R equals O. Because it's the event that's going on. It's your response of how you respond to that event. Equals the outcome. The outcome is in our control. So that is dependent, though, how you respond to that event. And so in life, there's always things going on.
Always.
How do you respond to those different events going on? Especially, if there's a crisis at work and all kinds of other stuff.
You can get like angry.
But you can also get so involved and wrapped up in something that really doesn't affect you. So how you, react to that situation equals that outcome. Is that outcome going to leave you in a better place or not so better place? And you got to think about that sometimes.
I know, because some people, it depends on your personality also.
Yes.
There's people like that just, they love confrontation, or they just want to jump in every situation, and then people who just sit back and say, who cares? So if you're the type that just want to jump in, or you want to get angry, or you want to confront, you're the ones that really have to sit back and reevaluate and say, listen, is this worth my time? Is this worth the aggravation?
You got a good point. And I have to tell you, this happened to me. I got to work, and I have a reserved parking spot, and somebody else was parked in my spot.
Oh.
And my reaction to that event,
at the moment,
I was really highly ticked, to the point, before I even left the parking lot, I was going to block them in, but then there was another car that was trying to get into their parking spot, so I had to move. So I had to find myself a spot that was not reserved until I could get this resolved, because I pay good money to have a spot no
Right.
matter what time I get to the office.
Right. Does
That
it have a reserve sign
Oh,
on
yeah,
it?
absolutely reserved.
Oh.
So what happened was, and there was quite a few of spots that are not reserved. I actually happen to have the absolute best spot in the whole entire parking lot.
Of course she does.
Only because they had repainted years ago, and my spot is absolutely the biggest. So never have a problem
Beautiful.
with, even if I park close to the line kind of thing, there's lots of room. You can open your doors. You're not into this really tight spot. So
Right.
I don't want to park anywhere else.
Of course.
I really don't. So I go and I call my assistant, and then she calls the administrator in our office building. Then when I got in, I talked to security. I had taken a picture of the plate. I brought it to security, told them where my spot was, told them about somebody being in there. Then I got upstairs, and apparently my assistant had seen the parking, I'll say enforcement person going around, because making sure that people have paid for their parking or have a reserve spot. Anyway, so then I thought I raced down there and go chasing this guy in his car in the parking lot while he's going tagging people. And I'm like, I told him, I said, I have a reserve spot at the office. I said, its number, and I gave him my number. And I said, I want him ticketed, or her, whatever. I don't know if it's a him or her. But the reason I did that is because we have an office building where there's a lot of people from apartment buildings.
Right.
And since they built up so much apartments and townhouses, there's nowhere for people to park. But they're coming in now and parking in, some in reserve spots and some in the others. On the others, I don't care, because if they hopefully pay their daily parking, it's still a parking spot for them. But this very clearly says reserved.
Right.
So they need to be taught a lesson. And this is in my control to make sure they're not going to ever park in my spot again.
There you go.
At least that car, because there was another car a year or two ago that did the same thing.
Yes.
And it really upset me. But again, I got it taken care of, because that was in my control to do something about it, and not just roll over and park somewhere else.
And come the next day and find it happening again.
Absolutely.
So that is a good point, that, you know, you have to take care of it so it does keep happening and keep taking space up in your brain because you're upset about it.
Right. So I was totally fine. And then I actually had gone downstairs at one point to see if the car was moved. It had not, but it had a ticket on it.
Oh, there
so
you
at least,
go.
and I had put
He
a
was
note that it
aware.
was a reserve spot. And the enforcement guy didn't actually want to ticket him, because he says, well, maybe this person is new to the building, whatever. I said, listen,
Reserved
it
is
said-
reserved.
Right. No matter where you go.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that means somebody's paid for a
Exactly.
spot.
It would be
So-
different if, you know, like in our places in Florida where it's just on the curb, you know, like
Yeah, they won't
reserved or
necessarily
a
see
number.
it.
You're not, you're not
Well-
really sure if it's enforced, but that is a big reserve sign. So
Yeah.
hello. And if you're on the street somewhere in Toronto or Oakville or Mississauga, and you're on a no parking area, you're going to be ticketed right away. They
Yeah.
don't care why you use that spot.
No.
You know, what do they call meter maids or something
whatever.
running around? I've
Well,
seen them with their little pads.
The next thing that happened, bad enough that happened. I go in my desk drawer, and my
no.
assistant had put in this envelope, and I knew I hadn't put it there, and I knew I hadn't seen it before. I open it up, another bill from CRA.
Oh boy.
And again, my reaction is, what the heck? I am so anal about paying my taxes on time. I do my quarterly installments. I pay more if I think I need to do that. But I never, ever, ever want to owe the government at all.
So you have peace of mind.
Exactly.
It's in your control to do that.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that doesn't give me peace of mind if I think that the CRA is coming after me.
Right.
I get really stressed about things like that. I don't like to owe anybody any money.
Right.
But CRA in particular,
Yeah.
not at all.
Right.
Not at all. So I get this and I'm like, really? Again? Because and not only that, they keep you on the phone more than an hour.
Right.
They said,
Like your time isn't important.
no, of course not. And it was funny because
Oh, you want to talk about time? Okay, go ahead. We'll talk about something else.
so the gentleman that I ended up finally getting, which was over an hour, by the way, even though they said you should get somebody coming on within an hour.
Oh my goodness.
But it wasn't. It was over an hour. But I said to him, as much as I resent waiting, and I was multitasking, I was doing things while I was, having to be on hold listening to this. Anyway, I said the only good thing that happened was that I got this person because he did explain. And then I told him, check current. I want to know if I owe anything right up to this point.
Right.
Because I said I want to deal with that right now because this can't keep going on.
That's right.
And I had called other people in the past and they never said what was happening. Somewhere, and my assistant is still checking because this could have happened where we made the payment and it went to another account. Okay, because this is for business and the other thing could be gone to personal.
Right.
But the point was, nobody along the way had said that there was one missing. And so every time I made a new quarterly, it went backwards instead of current.
Okay.
So the interest wasn't as high as they said it could be. And even then, for not owing that much, it was pretty high, in my opinion. And I'm like, wow, you do not want to play around with the government. But that's why you want to do everything by the book and make sure that they never have to send you these extra assessments where you're paying. But again, I took control right away because I knew if I didn't, I'd be upset much longer because this wasn't resolved. And I was not going to give up until this got resolved. And luckily got a very nice gentleman. So now we're looking in to see, but I've also made the payments to bring myself to current. And I might be over, but we'll deal with that after. I'd rather be over than under.
Right.
But anyway, but that's the stuff you can take into control because it does affect other work.
Yeah.
It does affect if you go home and then you start venting with your family.
Right.
Thank God I have an empty apartment to go to. So I needed to deal with
phones
that.
Me.
Yeah, that's right. I will deal with, put that burden on my friends and my family sometime. But it's better to get it out.
Yeah.
It is. It's good to vent.
And that's something you can control. Who you vent to,
yes,
who you speak to. Like if Linda calls me about anything, I'll just listen and whatever. There's no offense, no oh God, I gotta go. None of that because we're on the same page. I have a few friends like that they can call and if you don't have the time, you just say, can I call you back or can whatever. That's in your control also and. Usually the other person is fine with it, So don't, if you're not in the mood to listen or you don't have the time, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because then you might be...
Right, not really paying attention, so that you're not present then.
You're not present and you're not answering correctly.
Right.
You're not helping. You're not helping.
No, because that's just adding stress to the other person.
Exactly.
So you're right, it is better just to say, listen, I really would love to be on the phone with you, but I'm in the middle of whatever it is.
Exactly.
And that's fine.
And the other person should not take offense. Well, my good friends don't. They know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other thing, it's how many, you can control how many times you smile in a day, how kind you are to other people, what you do with your spare time. So if you do have spare time, don't waste it or sit there and, let your mind go. Just maybe read a book or listen to a YouTube or what do you listen to? Audiobooks.
Audiobooks, yeah.
Something to help you and calm you. Maybe meditate.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Andrea. Sometimes it is good just to sit and not think about anything. Things will pop in, but just let it go. Just keep letting it go because sometimes you just got to take that mental break.
Exactly.
And that is in your control to take. Go to the bathroom and just tell your family, I'm going to the bathroom. Don't bother me.
I used to do that when we lived in Azilda because we were six children, 2 adults, and I was the oldest. I'd go, I'm going to the washroom. Yeah. I would sit in there even if I didn't have to go, and I would just take a few breaths and calm down. It's hilarious, but. We didn't have no privacy, nowhere to go.
No,
I don't even think our bedroom had a door on it. I think my parents did. Not that it was ever closed much.
Yeah.
But it was just the way it was. So so that's another thing. Whether or not you judge other people. I find myself doing that sometimes because I hate to judge other people and I know that it's a sin and I'll say, oh, how could she come out like that? And I said, oh, stop it. Not your problem. Don't worry about it,
You know what's interesting?
Sorry, Lord, didn't mean to judge.
But you know what's interesting? Because they say sometimes, we do tend to judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, most weeks, I'm very casual. Most weeks, I'm going to be in t-shirts, not blouses. I happen to be comfortable in t-shirts. It's always been my thing where you're going to see Andrea more dressed up, more stylish than I will. It doesn't make one of us better than the other.
Oh, no.
It's just, that's my comfort level. That's my makeup. And when I have to go to work and dress up, and actually it was funny, I went to a meeting recently and I ran into a colleague because since COVID, we don't have as many clients coming into the office. So a lot of it is still virtual or over the phone. And we do. When clients are coming into the office, I'm always dressed up, but we don't always see each other because she's at the other end. So we're in this big room in this meeting. We happen to run into each other and she looks at me and she goes, oh, you're all dressed up. Well, because a lot of times even at work, if I'm not seeing a client, I'm still casual.
Sure.
And it's my comfort level. And you can judge me that I'm not professional or that I'm not successful or I'm not a lot of things, but you'd be wrong in all of those cases because just because I look like this doesn't mean that I underneath haven't done all the things that I need to do that are in my control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I'm dressed down, as I call it, it's for my comfort because I'm not really interacting with anybody on a professional
and
level.
why stress yourself out in the morning to put on makeup, do your hair, get all dressed up to sit in an empty office?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Because mostly that's what I'm doing. I'm in an empty office with my computer.
And you have control of your day, like your itinerary. You know what's coming up.
Absolutely.
So you dress accordingly. Yeah. And that just gives you peace of mind.
It does. And when you have that control over your dress, like you said, that relieves a lot of stress. Because I know in the old days when I used to work for the federal government and had to go downtown dressed up every day, to think about what you're going to wear and the makeup and everything else, everything had to be like perfect because you're almost in this environment of competition.
Right.
That's what it felt like back then. And I'm like,
yeah.
Now that it's in my control, I am very casual. But I'm still dedicated. And when we don't have clients coming in, even my assistant works from home, so I don't even see her. Really, I'm there by myself, except if I run into somebody in the kitchen getting a cup of tea. That would be the only time I'd really be seeing people. That's why some of my colleagues don't always see me dressed up. And if they're judging you,
oh well,
that's their problem. And that's within their control.
That's within their control, exactly. Yeah. Well,
you have any more in your control?
Well, we have a lot of whether you're not. Oh, this is a good one. Whether or not you try again after a setback.
Oh, I love that one.
Yes.
That is totally in your control.
Totally in your control. So if, like they say, if at first you don't succeed,
try
again.
Yes. Because the thing is, the setback might not have been in your control.
That's right.
Now you got a lesson from it.
Right.
Now you get that opportunity, because it's within your control, to do it again.
Do it again.
But the right way, because of that insanity thing with Einstein.
Oh, yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yes.
The signs of insanity.
But like you said, learn.
But you learn.
You learn from the mistake that you made.
Yeah.
And then try again. And
in a different way.
In a different way. And I hate to use this example, but the famous Canadian world poker champion, Daniel, when he was very young, he went to Las Vegas because he was going to be a poker professional, and he saved and he saved and he saved. He went, he got clobbered the first trip. He says, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Went back home to Canada, started working, saving, got enough to enter the World Poker Tour again. Clobbered again. He goes, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? So he figured it out. Can't remember what it was. He explained it all. Went home, started saving again, went back, and from the rest is history. He's been in Las Vegas. He's one of the highest winning poker players on the poker
But
tour.
there's lessons in everything. And
But he studied
that's the thing. He continued to study.
Yeah, he studied the players. What did I do wrong? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And he figured it out.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a great story, though.
Yeah.
And that's just in something that you would think is a hobby to play poker.
No, he wanted to be a professional.
I think that if my dad had lived long enough, didn't have all the kids that he had, may have really loved his life playing poker, because my dad loved cards. Absolutely loved playing cards. And can you imagine getting paid to play cards? I'd love it.
Me too.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's lots of things that are in your control.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that one off. That's a good way to end the episode.
Right.
Think about all the things that are in your control and the things that aren't, and find a way to make it within your control so it doesn't, I'm going to say, upset your plans of whatever they are.
For success.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
So ladies, we thank you for being with us another week.
Yes, thank you very much.
We're over 2.5 years now and still plugging away and enjoying this very much. So we hope if you like it,
you will share
and subscribe
and tell your friends about us.
Absolutely. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Until next week.
Bye, ladies.